Welcome to Tasty Tuesdays. I am your host, Lorraine Hughes from Crafting Possibilities, and tonight I have the delicious honour of being with Kate from Sekhmet Studio. Hopefully I said that right the second time around.
Sekhmet. Everyone says it different.
Woohoo! All right, so I'll just introduce Kate properly. So Kate has had a vast and varied journey into spirituality, initially coping with her awareness using toxic methods, which had her reaching the deepest depths of darkness, and then was guided into her healing with these traumatic experiences, using her connection to the divine Egyptian feminine and channeling her reawakened healing capacities into the creation of Orgonite Pyramids as a fusion Middle Eastern dancer, Orgonite Creatrix, and Mosaic Artist. So thank you for being with us today. It's such an honor to be talking about our Witchy Woo practices and catching and seeing what you do. So welcome.
Hi, it's great to be back.
Yeah, thank you for coming and playing with us again.
I'm glad I was the first one. To leap on you're throwing it out there. Who wants to talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know, how did you begin really on your witchdom journey out of the broom closet? Because there was a long time you were in the broom closet, weren't you?
It really was. So I guess I want to start by just kind of acknowledging and paying homage to the millions, and I do say millions of women that lost their lives because of being seen as witches, burned alive, mutilated, tortures, the whole bit. So that's why we stay in the broom closet, because coming out of it hasn't really been the safest of spaces. So I think that fear is really encoded it's in our cells to not announce that loud and clear. Mm-hmm. So I only came out like in the last 6 months and actually said the words, I am a witch, put it on Facebook. I'm a witch. I was born this way. And there you go. I've said it type thing.
Yeah.
So I knew I was a witch. I realized I was a witch when I was about 19 years old. So it was shortly after I'd been diagnosed with bowel disease. And
wow.
I wasn't handling that very well. I delved into an addiction that was really quite bad. And somewhere in the process of being extremely ill with bowel disease and being extremely addicted to drugs at the time, I had what I would call sort of like an epiphany or a realization. I could see everything that I was doing and everything that I'd done as a child, as an adolescent, as a primary school student, and I could see it through new eyes, and it just hit me. Oh my God, I'm a witch. And from then on, I knew that, and I really delved into studying it and understanding it and that type of thing. I was at my parents' house last week on Friday, and I opened a cupboard. My dad and I were doing something, and I opened up this cupboard, and there were these 2 candles, and like they're massive candles, about this big, and they're bright orange because they're from like the 1950s, or the orange and colors, and hideous candles. And I'm looking at these candles, and I'm like, oh my God, I've carved stuff all in the top of these candles. And I'm trying to read what I've done. Like I cut, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm reading it. And it's got Kate with a love heart, love something forever. You know, like I was obviously really, really young. And it took me a while to decipher it. And I'd written on the top of this candle my deepest, darkest secret at that time when I was like 8. And my deepest, darkest secret at that time was that I had a crush on this boy in primary school who had a really big crush on me. And I was too scared to tell everybody that I actually had a crush on him too. So I wrote it on the top of this candle, Kate loves Clinton forever. You know, it was like this big thing. And when I see that now, that's the sort of thing, I mean, I look at it now and I'm like, oh my God, this like baby candle magic that I was doing in primary school, not knowing what I was doing. But I do know that my sister, for example, wasn't carving stuff into candles. I was doing those sorts of things. And altar building was a really big one. I'd look at my space and I didn't just kind of have stuff all over my dressing table. Everything was really kind of arranged and different. It's like, oh, I built altars. And then I'm like, they're everywhere. I built altars everywhere and things like that. So I could see all this really like cute stuff. I'm like, oh, this like cute little candle magic where I didn't know what I was doing at the time. And the only difference is now I do. So it's the conscious awareness. I wasn't consciously aware of what I was doing when I was little, and I was carving things. I carved an entire Ouija board on the top of the table. I got a knife that I would heat up. I think I was like 11 years old, and I sit there and heat the knife up, and I carved this Ouija board onto the top of the table. I'm like, yeah, so normal kids don't do that. So when it hit me that I was a witch, it was pretty clear. It was as clear as day. So yeah, so that was your question. Like, how did I begin the journey?
Yeah.
And I think it comes from also that concept of the wounded healer. So I was really, really sick. And I'm not saying that all witches are that way, but there's like that stereotypical imagery of a witch as being sort of hunched over and old and crippled with the decrepit nose and all of that business. So, and I had a Crohn's disease at 19. So yeah, I felt like the wounded healer type of situation. It has just started to rain. So you might hear that.
It's like somebody's got their rain stick out.
So sad. Yeah, and so just learning how to, obviously I started calling out to things, calling out to higher divinity when I was sick, because I was so sick. That's all I could do. And the answers that came back were you are a witch and you need to heal yourself so that you can heal others. And that was the beginning of that. Let me see what else I've got here.
I love that. I love that you have had that journey and had that reawakening and remembering from, finding that candle in the cupboard. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Because obviously it's not like, as a toddler, I'm a witch. It didn't happen that way. You kind of, I kind of liken it in a similar way to how somebody might realize as they get into adolescence or older that's like, actually, I'm bisexual, or I don't feel right. I'm not meant to be a man, or I'm not meant to be a woman. It's like, I'm a witch. This is how it is. So I had an interesting experience with somebody who I was very close with for about 20 years. And this was in the past 6 months. This is what forced me out of the broom closet. So it was an old friend of mine. So it was actually quite a really, really difficult. But she stumbled upon a movement called the New Age to Jesus movement. So I'm not quite sure if you're familiar with that one.
No.
You can Google that one when we're done. So it's New Age to Jesus. And she started saying that she didn't really want anything to do with things that were, she called part of the occult. And I kind of questioned back and said, well, what do you consider to be the occult? And the response was anything that takes people away from the one true God, which is, of course, terrifying fucking words, and listed things like crystals, dream catchers, oracle cards, divination cards, the list goes on, candles, you know, everything. And this was just one of the most astounding things that's actually ever happened to me in my life. So she no longer wanted to associate with me because she considered that I was, I guess, essentially kind of dabbling in the occult. And I didn't really know how to respond to it. So I made a post. I took a photograph of, I actually brought it with me today, my most, you know, secret witch's box that I have, which I don't share openly. I took a photograph of the box and the contents of the box, and I just threw a Facebook post up and said, I'm a witch, I own it, I was born this way, and this is how it is. And the response I got back was, I didn't realize that you identified as a witch, and basically we can no longer be friends. And that was extremely painful. Yeah. So again, yeah, coming out as a witch is not exactly, I lost a friend at that time because of it. But I also found the words that I identified as a witch to be a little bit, no, that's not correct. I don't identify as a witch. Was born this way. Was born a witch. It's not something that I kind of, it's not a choice.
Yeah.
I didn't choose to become one. I didn't go to university and just go, I think I'm going to study witchcraft and become a witch. I was born this way. So it's not something I identify at. This is a birthright. And my personal belief actually is that all women are all women are. That's my personal belief. But
yeah, I absolutely agree. And I know I'm going to say absolutely a lot today, so I'm just putting it out there. And I'll try and find a different word to use, but I agree completely. And
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the right word is. I don't know that I would.
This beautiful book that I was introduced to thanks to a podcast called It Turns Out She's a Witch. Not sure you know about that one, but
I sure do. I sure do. I follow them.
Yeah, and so I actually got in the start of April, Celeste Larson released her book Heal the Witch Wound. And I got it and I listened to it, I've read it, and I tell you what, there is so much in there that is really pertinent to what you're saying right now, in that, like, we have as a society, like, even for me, I'm more than comfortable calling myself an energetic healer. I'm more than comfortable with calling myself an intuitive reader. I'm more than comfortable with saying that, you know, I know how to work with, you know, some scents and some crystals and some lights and energetic magic, and I can do regression therapy and I can do all of these things.
Bringing out the big words hard.
But bringing out the W word,
I know,
right?
It's really scary.
And all of the things that I do that are actually rituals, like the fact that in the morning I do this ritual with waking up with my body and appreciation, and then I go and I have a liter of warm water every morning, and I stand in, you know, with my warm water, and I'm like thanking the water for giving my body nourishment. It's all rituals. Now, all of that is Witchy Woo Practices, right? So
100%.
it's like when we start really stripping away all of the things that have kept us safe from that word of a witch,
Yes.
And we own it, we bring it back and we go, actually, all of that is being a witch.
Yeah.
It's just that we have bought into the lie that it is a bad word. It is not a bad word. It is just a descriptive word to describe a really big area of connectedness.
Yeah.
And practices and
yeah
wisdom.
Actually,
and also
that brings me to, it's very hard to find the right words for this particular topic. So I did write this, the way I see it anyway, is 99% of being a witch or witchcraft is not in performative ritual. It is in the mundane. Being a witch is being in the mundane. So it is a matter of presence and consciousness and intention and awareness in everyday mundane activities. And that is everything from washing your hair, doing your laundry, doing your dishes, sweeping your floor, making your bed, getting dressed, cooking. So I think people think that a witch is like this amazing thing that, stands out and has lights flashing everywhere. It's like, actually, no, I'm just doing my laundry, because the magic is in the mundane. The true magic is in the mundane. So being a witch is actually really boring in that sense, because the magic is in the mundane. So it's not in performative ritual. So, we see in, for example, something like, I'm just chucking it out there, like the Maleficent movies. It's got the costume. It's like this really big performative rituals and spells cast. And I say 99% of witchcraft is the magic in the mundane.
Yeah.
Like it really is. It's washing your dishes and sweeping your patio. It's not, it's everyday tasks. In fact, that's what makes witchcraft so amazing, is that it's invisible. Like, it's actually invisible. You're doing it all day, every day, living as a witch, and all you're doing is like living through the mundane tasks of your life. And like you, for example, are doing it when you clean. That's, you're going to cleaning is a witch's, one of the witch's main jobs. Cleaning, and it could be cleaning everything, like people, places, spaces, energy, cleaning. Wow. Yeah, so I think that that's really important. And I just found they're the words that came to me, that being a witch is 99% magic in the mundane, and it is not about performative ritual. That is a very, very rare, unique thing that, you might do with yourself. Because I'm solitary, so I can only really speak for myself. So if I was going to do something a little more serious, with more of a performative ritual that requires a little bit more staging, so to speak. Like, for example, I think one of the clips you showed in your reel at the start, where I would get dressed up and release an Orgonite collection, is like me doing my thing in a more performative ritual type sense. But that's 10 minutes out of a year. The rest of it is just the magic I put into my coffee when I stir it in the morning.
Absolutely. I find, and having had the conversation with yourself and with Vicky Morales last week, and just lots of the other conversations I've had with fellow witches,
you get comfortable with it. Comfortable with that word.
as you would say. Yeah, I completely agree. And it's about being really present. It's like the witchdom is about being present with those mundane tasks. So you're
Yeah.
really conscious of what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Mindfulness is a good one.
Mindfulness.
Is a good word to throw, to being mindful of what you're doing. Which a lot of it, quite frankly, I just see as almost just like basic common decency. like being a witch, it's like, actually, I'm just present and paying attention. I am paying attention. And so a large part of being a witch is paying attention to what's happening, what you are doing, what's happening around you, what's happening with others. Paying attention is a big one.
For sure.
And I think, like the ability to see before, during, and after, and which is it's not particularly magical. It's just being able to see, if I do these things, that this is likely to be the outcome, which again is just being a better human.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's hard because witches have been painted into such a bad corner that it's going to take probably centuries to climb out of that, the naughty corner where we're perceived as, doing harm. I mean, my best friend and I talk about it often, that, if somebody's crops failed 3 towns away, they'd come for the woman and say, she did this, and she'd be burned alive, so it's going to take hundreds of years. And I do call it the female Holocaust. I 100% call it the female Holocaust. Genocide, millions of women. So this it is big, and it should be named as what it was. And in the same way that the Jews will take centuries to heal and recover from what happened to them, so will we as women. It's embedded in our genes, in our DNA. So that's going to take some time.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is the beginning, right? It's just, and I consider myself a strong person, and yet I didn't say I was a witch till I'm 43. I knew when I was 17 and didn't tell a soul till I was 43 years old. And I only said something because I felt like I was backed into a corner. And it was like, come out now or don't. And so I did. And here we are.
And here we are having this conversation.
I'm not gonna lie, I was actually really afraid to come out with that, because I was afraid of, I think, mostly being told that I was crazy. That's one of my pet hates and kind of fears, is being told, yeah, you've lost your mind, like you're crazy, you're calling yourself a witch. So I think that was probably my main fear. Not being believed, I think, and being told that I was just, I suppose, living in fantasy land or not living in the real world, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because I put up a post before I did put out the call for this particular series. About a month or so before that, I put up a post of, what does the word witch mean to you? And
I remember it.
Yeah, and I was just sort of feeling my way around things because it was like,
you're throwing the water.
I just want to know what my Facebook people think, before I go and actually out myself via this podcast.
There ain't no coming back. Is this your first out? Is this your first out? I am a witch.
Well, between last week and this week, yes.
Bravo. Yeah.
So, like, within my friends, like, there's a couple of my friends who I've already spoken to, like, in private about, all of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly in a more public sense, this is my stepping out of the broom closet in a very big way for me.
Yeah. And that is really scary, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. But congratulations.
Thank you. So just for the people who are watching, and if you see it across the bottom of the screen, you'll see that the beautiful Kate is actually going to give away one of her incredible Orgonite Pyramids. And oh, look at this. Look, she's got it with her.
Beauty here. I'm not sure if the lights, I don't know.
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful. It's a little baby. Yep.
So I ask you to pop your most magical advice in the chat.
Yeah.
And we'll pop you in a drawer. I'm not going to choose it unless there's only one person that pops it. So what I'll do is actually put it on a random name generator so that I don't have to. You can't blame me if you don't.
Do you know how to do that?
I do.
Do that.
So highly recommend you get on there and you pop your most magical advice, or maybe even most magical practice. We can probably switch it up if you find it hard to say
anything. Really, it's just that
anything magical that is relevant.
Nicely infused with this conversation and two women coming out and saying they are witches, and it'll go where it's meant to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know, what is your most tasty witchy experience so far?
Yeah, that was a tricky one. Oh my God. See, I answered your questions earlier, as in
I've been keeping an eye on it. It's okay.
Yeah. So I actually said that this is really, really lame. My most favorite witchy practice is actually cleaning. It's my favorite because it's the one that I'm good at. It's the one that I'm really, really good at. Also, I do want to throw out here in this moment, because that's really very kind of boring, that my juiciest witchy moment is cleaning, because people don't really know what that means, but it's so validating, and it feels so good to clean a space and make it beautiful for someone. Anyway, you'd know what that feels like. But currently, so this year has been a really difficult year for me, but one of the golden nuggets in this year is I've had my new calling in life, which I'm really excited about. I'm studying to become an end-of-life doula. Yeah, so that is my most favorite thing at the moment, and it's definitely not everyone's cup of tea. So I am about 25% of my way through some course material that I've got access to for a year. So there is no officiating body for end-of-life doulas. It's not like it's the equivalent of being a midwife, but in reverse. It is companioning the dying. So that's actually going to be my new thing, is companioning the dying. So it's relatively new. It doesn't have an officiating body. I met another end-of-life doula a couple of weeks ago in South Australia, and there's only about 12 in SA, because it's not like you're getting a university qualification. You get the calling, and then you educate yourself so that you can put it into practice. And so that's what I'm actually doing in the future. So that's what the future is going to look like for me, is being an end-of-life doula and helping transition people, not just the person who is dying or facing dying, but also the people around them, family, friends. And I would be there from the beginning right through to the last breath, and then after as well. So that's kind of my favorite thing right now. It's a difficult question, I think, the tastiest thing about being a witch.
It's a tasty experience. So it's something that is, I guess,
it's the only question I found difficult.
In saying that, your even your childhood candle experience is quite a tasty experience, really, just to go back over and look at that.
Finding it last week was, and it's one of my biggest regrets, because I wrote it on a candle that I was like in love with. I was 8 or 9, in love with this boy in primary school, but he never knew. I wrote it because it was my deepest secret, and I do regret that. It seems like, oh, that was so cute, Kate.
Cute little Kate. I love that.
I do see, I guess, a tasty experience. You know what? I see my daughter, who is almost 18, and she is a baby witch, and she knows it. And I am so excited to see how her life will unfold as a witch, if and when she's ready to really embrace that. Hang on, I'm just getting rid of some things on my screen. So that's really exciting for me as well, seeing my daughter, a little 18-year-old. A little 18-year-old witch. It's amazing.
Yeah. And how cool is it that you're her mum? So, like, cool. Yeah, you can really support her through her growth and whatever she chooses to dive into or not dive into. It's like she knows that she can come to you for support and nourishing and nurturing and of all of her skills and capacities, and whatever they are.
It's funny because when she was, I laugh about it, because when she was born, I had 3 children, and on the birth certificate you have to put your occupation as the woman, as the mother. It says occupation. For fuck's sake, that question really pisses me off. But anyway, so when Claudia was born, I was 25, and I put spiritual healer on the birth certificate. Lovely. But again, skirting around, a lot of skirting around. I put spiritual healer. I'm like, spiritual healer? Like, what the hell? Anyway, my 2 sons, I think I just put, we were like, what do I put? And I think I put homemaker. Like, because occupation, I'm a witch. Like, I'm go back. It's like, I'll tell you what, if I could go back now, and it doesn't actually cost that much, I'd do it loud and proud. Witch on the birth certificate. I would. Fully. Yeah, to really start owning this title. Loud and proud.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. It's funny because one of the things that I've been doing is actually performing a little bit of magic while we've been talking. And I've been turning off the rain.
Good job, because it's unbearable in the caravan.
So I've been turning off the rain over Kate, and I've been turning off the rain over here because my internet could go a little bit wobbly and Kate could get a bit noisy. So it's like, no, you can just stay off until after 8 o'clock.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. I do feel there is a gravity to this conversation with women being able to come out collectively and say, I am a witch. So I brought a few things for show and tell. Do you want some show and tell?
I'd love to see.
So what I thought I'd do, because this is what I kind of brought out. I'm just moving. Some show and tell. So some like inner workings of life as a witch. So like I said, most of being a witch, I believe, is just in the magic in the mundane,
Mm-hmm.
not in performative ritual. But if performative ritual is required, we all have these. Well, we all have things like this, yeah, with the stuff that people are scared of. So I think I found this on the side of the road. I don't even know. And so that's my box. That's the one I actually put up in my post. And inside my little box of witchy goodness, I have handmade candles by my dear friend Mother Forager. Plug. She is on Instagram for all of your amazing needs. Of course, what else is in a witch's box? Oh, I didn't bring my cauldron. My cauldron is tiny. It is inside. I have obviously a lot of crystals. I have so many crystals. The rocks just come to me and they just keep on coming. I do have a broomstick, but it's not like it is in the movies. It's like that. Yeah, that's my broomstick. I've had it since I was a child. It's more of a symbolic thing than anything else. I have another one. I met a lovely lady at one of the Queen of Wands psychic fairs who was unabashedly not ashamed to say, hi, I'm a witch. And I was like, yeah, cool, so am I. And she makes broomsticks. So this is one of her little broomsticks. That's so cool.
The other way.
Her name is, other way. Yes. Yep. Her name is Danny Meter on Facebook. And she did this custom, but she sells them as well. How simple and easy and cool are these? They're fantastic. I also have a locket, and in my locket, I haven't done show and tell since I was in primary school. This is the coolest thing. Is my great grandmother. You can't really see that. Her name was Gwendolyn, which is my daughter's middle name, and she was a herbalist in her time. So we say herbalist. I say witch. Yeah, she's a naturopath. Yeah, she's a witch. So she was a herbalist. I have some more crystals, big stompers. So this is where I keep some of, I actually don't know what differentiates some crystals from others, but this is where I keep the ones that I keep away, if that makes sense. I've got dozens all throughout my house, hundreds. But these are the ones I keep in the box. So they don't come out very often. Some other pieces, some big tourmaline, some big aquamarine.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I can see why you struggled to lift it up.
I think that's one of the things about being a witch. There's just a lot of stuff being a witch. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of rocks. There's a lot of stuff. I have knife, as you do, athame. More stompers. I just have so many crystals. It's insane. And these aren't even the big ones. And then I don't actually currently own any tarot cards. That was something that happened in my witch awakening when I was 19. I realized that I was able to read the cards, and that really hit hard. I was able to see the cards, just your traditional playing deck, in a different way, and that was the big one. So from there, I did go to a spiritual school. Can't remember the name of it now. I was about 22 years old, and it taught me. Her name was Elizabeth Jensen, and she taught me how to integrate being able to read tarot cards into a business and how to put that into the real world and do that like at markets and fairs, which I did do that for quite a few years as well. And I used to do readings from home for people that would come to my house. So I would charge to do readings for a really long time. I haven't done that for decades now. And I don't have any tarot cards currently, but I do have So this is the Spirit Animal Oracle deck. I really like this one at the moment.
Beautiful.
That one's really cool. And of course, everything I think with witchcraft as well is all about handmade. You make shit, you're crafty. It's witchcraft, your craft. So I make the bag that it goes in out of leather. I also have a big foraging fiend, my mushroom oracle that I use. I actually use that at the moment because we're in the middle of winter. I live in the hills, so I do a lot of work with mushrooms and mushroom magic, all of the mushrooms. So I love this one.
How did you learn to work with the mushrooms?
So it's a long story. So I'd advise people to kind of jump on to looking at Mother Forager on Instagram. So I started looking into microdosing and learning the different types of mushrooms. She took me out foraging, learning how to do that. This is a new thing that I've integrated into my life. It's also using specific mushrooms. Some of them can fight cancer, and really as a spiritual tool to help people in end of life and things like that. So I'm not going to speak as somebody who really knows their shit about that, because this is only my second season of exploring that particular realm. So maybe if we talk again sometime, it'll be incorporated into my end of life doula work, which so I also just wanted to show the types of things that witches do. So this isn't something that we do. It's just what we do. It's what I do. Most witches probably do. So I have this is a bag, and in here I put gifts for a friend of mine, which she'll have to get now. I was actually holding them, but now I'm going to show what's in the bag. And so it's where we make our little witches bags, and also pots full of stuff, bags, baskets, too many wicker baskets, brooms, the works. Little pots with things. So this one has saffron in it, which has symbolic meaning for her. That was the name of our dance troupe that we were in. Of course, we have a quartz crystal necklace. So this is just making a little gift bag. Nail polish, because she likes to paint her nails silver. I put in a big marble, so you don't lose your marbles.
That's where my head went.
Yeah. So a lot of magic is in metaphor. What else have I got in here? Hang on. Oh, I love these. These were a set of brooches. Not a phase.
Oh, wow.
This is life. It is not a phase. Love that. And last but not least, I do have a tiny little amethyst mushroom. And so that all goes into the little bag, and that's the gift. And I just think that is, I made it for her a couple of weeks ago before you even asked throughout your, does anybody want to talk about it? I'd already, because I'm just being me. This is me doing me. And I'm like, yeah, well, let's do some show and tell, because this is a bag that I made for my friend. And I kind of think this is the type of thing that we do. Yeah, it's the type of thing that we do. So not everybody does this. Some people just go to the shop and buy a gift. Anyway,
it's funny you should say that, because I know for me it means so much more that I make my cards, and I get really.
You mean like this?
Yeah.
When you make cards for people? Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's how it goes.
And there
So
is,
yeah,
it's true. There's like a little piece of us that goes into everything we make,
yeah.
and
I
it's
have
so,
little bags
yeah.
of my children's hair from their first haircut. I have a pot with my daughter's teeth because I
I
pulled
think I
most of
still
them
have my
out.
own teeth.
I know. So I do find a lot of being a witch to me it's actually funny because I kind
Mhm.
of look at myself and I'm like, oh my goodness, here we go again. All the pots of stuff, the little bags of stuff.
Oh, I love it.
But
I
it's
love it. I love it.
fabulous. I mean, if I could give you a tour, this is my little studio. So I call this is like the Sekhmet Studio. This is where I make my organites and pyramids and things like that. And I'm going to stick one in a mold after we're finished, because you're obviously working magic at the same time. And of course, I am too. So my friend, my dearest friend, shout out to my neighbor, Danny, gave me this wonderful little cross
Oh,
today
wow.
that I intend on putting into a plate. I'm doing sort of
Mhm.
big discs that you can put on the wall. Yeah, and so this is where the magic happens for my organites, in this little space here. But I thought I'd bring my box of show and tell, and
I'm
this
so honored
that's
that you did. Thank
that's
you.
the box. I don't know why, but it's the box I keep hidden.
Yeah.
It's the one with the broom. It's the one brooms. It's the one. I don't know. I don't know why I keep it hidden. I just do. So today I'm like, here is all the shit that I hide in this box. So if people, because I
Mhm.
think people are scared, potentially because of they feel like they don't know what witches are doing, and we feel what we don't understand.
Mm.
And so I'm showing you, I'm not actually doing anything. I just have a box and it's got crystals in it. And I
And
occasionally
a
I
few
will
other
pull out.
trinkets.
I'm not doing anything. There is like nothing to fear. Like I
Yeah.
do wear a lot of black. Yes. Have you got any blacker? That's me. But there's nothing to fear. But I do recognize, for example, the card that I just showed you, this one here for a friend of mine,
Mhm.
that this is a little scary looking to people that aren't kind of, you know,
Mhm.
I like the Harry Potter term muggles, and I do use that term.
Yeah.
The non-magical people, they were just the non-magical people, the muggles. So for the people that are
Mm.
muggles, that are non-magical, there's nothing wrong with that. They do find that kind of imagery a little bit confronting.
Mm.
And it has been associated, with devil worship, obviously. So there's always needed to be a
Mm.
bridge. There needs to be a bridge built between this
Mhm.
and, if I can get it back out, and this. We need a
Yeah.
bridge, right?
The bridge is the knowledge
Yes.
of
Yeah.
how things like Satan, devil worship
Okay.
stuff came into being.
How that,
Um,
yeah.
and
Because
when
I
you,
get the way it
mm,
looks scary, but the reality of it is it's actually just me with a box of trinkets.
exactly, exactly. And I mean,
They
that
do certain things.
conversation of how, like, so back in the days when it was pagan times, I'm just going to be really brief and not necessarily
Yeah.
do this little bit of history justice properly, but
No, that's okay.
um,
You,
so
you'd need hours.
oh, exactly. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to be really brief about it. But basically, I actually started uncovering a lot of this sort of stuff when I was on my feminine journey back in the start of 2020. And interestingly, the feminine journey and my witch journey kind of were doing this together. They were weaving themselves together. And I found that a lot of the reason why women in general were made wrong, not just because of the whole witch side of things, and we became, less than, was because women were seen as very knowledgeable, potent, amazing, incredible, life-giving, miracle makers. And when Christianity came in and the priests really wanted to get control, they sort of went, well, how can we make it so, because these women have got more clout than what we do, and we need to make them see, the general population see us as the most important thing, and us be the only way to connect with God, and that there was only one God and not multiple, and all of those sorts of things that were going on as well. And because every time a woman had an awareness, and the awareness was actually true, because women have held that place of authority of intuition since long time back. Right back to the Palladian and Lemurian days.
Like literally forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Literally since the actual planet was inhabited. So I'll let you all do that research for yourself. I'm not going to go into that. But basically what happened was the men got a little bit intimidated. And at the time,
in a nutshell.
And so what they did is they just slowly niggled away at certain things. And one of the things that they did was brought up this, one of the elements was that if a woman was menstruating, they were not allowed to go to church because it would make church dirty. Yeah. So it's like, how do you control women? You make them control themselves, because they are so strong that, the only way you can make them do that is to, make them control themselves. So that's how they did it. And they just started taking away little bits and pieces, and then making people feel like a little bit like self-doubt, and just every now and then just plucking another one in there. And
is huge.
Yeah. And so the devil stuff was actually a fabrication from Christianity. Yeah. And it didn't actually exist before then. No. And so anything, because once they'd created this entity of the devil and devil worship as such, they were then able to expand that out. So any tools that women used, healers and wise women and all of that, not even talking about fortune tellers and all that sort of crap, like, not that this is crap. Sorry to my tools.
Make a poultice.
You make a poultice. You were then, it was then able to be attributed to being classed as devil worship,
in line with the devil.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to take a long time to undo.
Indeed. And so as long as if something didn't happen with the blessing of the church, that meant devil worship. So all the beautiful pagans doing their lovely rituals for the summer solstice and the winter solstice and the autumn and the spring, all of those lovely connections got twisted around and then sent and made into Christian things. But all of the witchy woo, the pagan practices were then made wrong, and it just created a lot of division. And then of course we ended up in the burning times, because how else do you silence the women? Well, you just burn them.
Well, this is when it gets completely and utterly out of control. Yeah.
So I know for me, and I mentioned it a little bit last week as well, with Vicky Morales's chat, how I have lived through and become aware of a previous lifetime where that did happen. And in that lifetime, I was a very healthy, happy green witch. And I was out in the forest, and I had my little cottage, and, I was a mentor to a lot of other witches. And I had an incredible garden, and I had this amazing connection to land, and like you say, just doing the mundane things, right, of growing my plants and harvesting them at the appropriate times, and being aware of the moon cycles and the seasons and all of that, to make sure that everything was planted at the appropriate time that was going to get the best harvest, and all of that sort of stuff. And creating some things like poultices and things that were helping other people, but I wasn't so much of a hedge witch at that time. I was more of a green witch. And in this lifetime, it's interesting because I have had to go through the process of healing that lifetime, which was a very intense, big process that I did in October last year with a friend of mine who turned out to be actually part of that coven, who witnessed everything that happened when the men came and found me and, did some pretty terrible things. But I've had the awareness that over the last week since that chat, that there's a reason why I'm hesitant to garden. It's like, because in that lifetime, gardening got me killed.
Yeah. You picked a flower.
I planted some stuff in the ground and I grew it and I shared it with my friends.
And
that's what I got, sodomized and and killed for. It was like, this is totally and utterly ridiculous. Like, could you imagine these days if the local farmer down the road ended up having the same thing happen to him because he was really connected to the land?
I don't think that people really fathom, because it's not really talked about. It's not even, I deem it the female Holocaust, but that isn't something, it's not in the history books or the herstory books. It's out. It's not even, there was this sort of the witch trials, but the reality of it and the scope of it is unfathomable. Millions and millions of women. There were towns where every single female was killed.
And
there
was apparently there was about 10% of the total number was actually men that got killed as well.
Yes. Yeah. This is where fear and just spreads like wildfire. So
and the worst town, there was an area, the actual worst one was Germany. That was actually the worst area to be hit.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of like when you put that
annihilated their entire population.
You look at it and you go, so wow, history repeated itself again in that area. Like in the time that we know about, it's like, this is absolutely nuts that they had that burning time and it was so bad and so many people died, and then they go and repeat it again in World War I, World War II. It's like, what the far out? I just hope that they've learned. I really do.
I think that the fear and the terror is kind of on both sides. So there's fear and terror towards us as witches, and we have fear and terror, and rightfully so, towards those around us. So just being able to even say the word is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Can be, definitely. So just before we wrap up tonight, I'd like to know, what top tip would you give to somebody just beginning their witchdom journey to get them out of the broom closet?
Get them out of the broom closet. Let me find it. I'll try to be quick for you. The best advice is, I actually wrote it down. Probably hard to see. Own it. Own it. The title, the label, the name. You need to own it. The truth of being a witch. I think that is the best advice. Get comfortable with the word. get comfortable with the word.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
I think that's
Short and
the
simple.
most important thing.
Yeah,
For
get
the younger
comfortable with it.
generation. So you don't spend, like me, 23 years being the only person who knows I'm a witch was me. And that's lonely. That's lonely.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
That is lonely. That has been a seriously lonely time to spend from the age of 19 to 42 knowing I'm a witch, being 100% aware of it, 100% involved in it, actively practicing my magic every day, and being completely alone in it. And so I think that would be really shit for the young, like my daughter, for example, the younger generation of women either stepping into their craft or get comfortable with the title so that we're not alone anymore. So we don't have the fear. We got to get the fear of the associated with the word. The fear's got to go and build from there. I think I agree. In my opinion, I think that's where we rebuild from the word. So
Thank you. So if people want to get in touch with you and, have you got anything brewing coming up? What would you, how could people?
So I hibernate in the winter and make Orgonites and I'm recovering from a shoulder reconstruction. So anyone can throw me a DM. I do have lots of pyramids and things like that still available. I'm in training to become an end-of-life doula. So anyone interested in that, I'm always open to discuss that. Anyone looking to explore themselves as a witch, I'm open to talking about that. And so I'm not dancing at the moment. I'm going to give it a shot on Friday because obviously I'm still recovering. And so that has been a hell of a journey, a dancer not being able to dance. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So Beautiful. If anyone wants to talk about being a witch, I'm all about it. I'm so sick of being lonely.
Yay! Welcome to my witchy coven.
Yay! And that is the best. I think that's the best way to wrap it up.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Thank you so much for coming. And I will be checking out the DMs and letting you know who in the next 24 hours. And I'll let you know who does pop up, because a lot of people actually watch this on replay. They don't necessarily watch it live. So
that's what I
for those who are watching the replay right now, you have up until, I would say, so today's the 13th. How funny, it's the 13th. I would say the 15th of the 6th.
Yeah, give it a couple of days.
I'll give you a couple of days.
I listen to all my podcasts later, so that ones I listen to.
We'll give it a couple of days. So if we'll find out who is the winner of the beautiful Orgonite pyramid that Kate has so very, very lovingly created for us.
Chuck anything, even if you just want to send out, I'm a witch. Put it in the drawer.
Pop it out there.
Pop it out there. Be bold. Claim that title.
That's
claim back your power.
Be loud and proud. All righty. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kate, for being with us tonight. And to everybody out there in the Tasty Tuesdays community, thank you for watching now and into the future. Get out there, do something tasty for yourself. I don't really mind what it is. Just get present, get connected, get witchy. And until we see you next time, be bold, be brave, be you, my beautiful friends. Bye. Bye.